few weeks ago, I launched a new product, T3 Chat. I had high hopes, but relatively middling expectations for how well it would do because it was just a wrapper for all these AI models. I've been blown away with the feedback and support and how many people have been using it. It's truly unbelievable. But that doesn't mean I got everything right. And one of the things I got wrong almost bankrupt the whole company. Our bills were nearing $600 a day for Claude. And how we got there is a crazy, chaotic story I can't wait to tell you all about. Normally this is where there'd be a sponsor, but I'll just ask you to try out T3 Chat so we can go straight in. So without further ado, here's our actual numbers. The reason that we're in Plausible, not Post-Hog right now, is because I had Plausible set up first because it was slightly less effort to set up and it's still my go-to quick drop tool for doing generic signed out analytics. It's also important to note how much T3 Chat changed over its first week or so of being out. So Plausible was introduced before we even had auth set up. Generally speaking, I always go for Post-Hog if there are actual users with IDs. I still will start with Plausible when they're not, just to get an overview of anonymous analytics. The big thing Plausible doesn't do is identify users, so you can't know who is doing what or how often a user does a thing. You can just get these higher level 277,000 people went to T3 Chat. There's been 1.8 million page views. And I had one additional event where I track messages sent. And we've had about 860,000 messages sent using T3 Chat. This is unbelievable for a product that's under a month old. The fact that we have 160 people on the site right now using it is just crazy. I was hopeful people would see what we did and understand that we made a really good, nice to use chat app and like it. But I've been blown away. So we set up our Plausible analytics before we went live, had a bunch of users. When we went live, we actually went live with a model you probably didn't expect. Our plan on launch was to only support DeepSeek v3. And the reason I wanted to do v3 was a combination of things. The big two being, first, look at that price. If you go to the DeepSeek pricing, when I actually started, we were getting the original legacy rate where it was 1.5 cents for a cache hit for 1 million tokens. 15 cents for actual input tokens and 28 cents for output. For comparison, 4.0 mini is 15 cents in and 60 out. So it's significantly cheaper. And when you compare it to something like 4.0 or Claude, it's hilarious. We're talking more than 10x. 15 cents per million in with V3, $3 for Claude. That's a 20x gap. 28 cents for 1 million out versus $15. That's a 30x plus gap. That's insane. That's actually insane. And the quality of the V3 responses was really close to the quality we were seeing out of Sonnet. It's still probably my favorite general model other than Sonnet, but it has catches. The big catch is the speed. So when V3 first came out, it was going really fast, like 90 tokens per second plus. A token is a word, so you would get updates really, really quickly. But over time, the performance plummeted. And then when R1 dropped, it just went to zero because it was barely functioning at all. And all the other providers that host DeepSeek, for some reason, can't get it to move fast at all. Fireworks had a moment where it was kind of fast, and now it's down to 40 to 50. But it didn't really showcase the user experience wins we wanted to with T3 Chat. So we made the last second decision to switch over to 4.0 mini for a combination of reasons. The main reason we went with 4.0 mini, other than obviously price, was speed. If you host 4.0 mini on Azure instead of using the official OpenAI APIs, it is 2 to 3 times faster, which meant that our 4.0 mini experience was comically faster than what you would get on a platform like OpenAI's actual ChatGPT website. What? This was a huge win. It made the app feel incredible. And since we had put so much effort into every ounce of performance to make every click respond immediately, to make every send work how you expect, to just make it feel great, we wanted something that felt good and was fast. And also, to be fully transparent, since we are a YC-backed company that's a real startup, we were able to get a ton of credit with Azure, which has been super nice. It means that the Azure bill isn't something we have to worry about for a good bit of time, and we're keeping an eye on it to make sure everything balances out. And the cost on Azure is the exact same as the cost on OpenAI. So it's not like we're paying more. If anything, we're arguably paying less because OpenAI only gives $5,000 of credit to startups. Azure gives a hell of a lot more. So that's how we ended up with those models to start. We had DeepSeek v3 and 4.0 mini. Originally, it was just 4.0 mini, but then we added a picker super quick after. Hell, I'm pretty sure by the end of the first day, we'd also added a few more models. The most important one being, of course, Claude, which is how we ended up here. When we picked the $8 price, we were picking it based on these numbers, the DeepSeek v3 pricing and the 4.0 mini pricing. and it's actually before the V3 price change, but we were trying to like prepare for it. Those numbers are still really, really good. And the fact that it's that cheap to do AI generation that is of decent quality is still kind of unbelievable. This stuff was so expensive before. A lot of it still is as we look at the O1 price. Yeah. The problem here is, of the models in this list that we offer, one is excruciatingly more expensive than the others. And that one is Sonnet. Yes, 4.0 is kind of close, but the 50% increase in output tokens, it's brutal. And when you consider how much people like Sonnet, it starts to hurt. If we look at the numbers here on Post-Hog for our actual core analytics, which also start a few days later, so there's a few less numbers in here, so don't sum this and expect everything to add up. It's not that simple. 4.0 Mini has about 650,000 messages sent on T3 chat. Claude is at 140,000. That might be like, oh, cool, third to a fifth as many. Remember, 4.0 Mini is a free tier option. So everyone using it for free and signed out is using 4.0 Mini. Paid users were able to rack up a fourth of the total free tier usage just on Claude. And there were individual users who cost us over $200 because the 500 message a week limit that we had chosen was based on the pricing of other things. And we didn't know how aggressive people would spam messaging. I did not believe people were going to send hundreds of messages each. Like somebody signed up, sent 500 messages to Claude in 2 days, and then emailed us to reset their rate limit. They cost us $180 in 2 days and then asked for more. It's insane. And I get it's our fault. I'm not trying to push the blame to the users at all. This is not something I can blame users for. This was our own admitted ignorance, thinking that we could catch this earlier if it did get more expensive, but we blew up way quicker than I ever would have expected. If we look at the messages sent chart, we had our huge spike when we dropped, obviously, a weekend slumber, decent traffic throughout the week. This was our 1 week, so we did pretty well. Slumber over the weekend, and now it's just sustaining. The craziest thing was over this last weekend on Saturday and Sunday, messages went up. So we're no longer having the weekend slumber. And as soon as I saw that, I hit up Mark, my CTO, and just said, hey, we need to be prepared for a crazy week because our traffic didn't go down over the weekend, which is about to spike again, which it did. And now we're getting nearly 10K messages a day. Insane. And we certainly paid for it. This is the bill just for Claude, just for February. $500 a day. Insane. Not at all sustainable. And if this was half our users were working this up, that's fine. Over 90% of our cost here was from less than 2% of our users. The number of users who used more than they actually paid for was approximately 100 people. That's not that much. But those people cost us an ungodly amount of money. So we had to make a change. It's not a change I wanted to make. To quickly summarize the change we made, you now get 1,500 messages per month. Claude's now limited to 100 messages a month instead of the part of the core limit. In the future, we might have other models that are these premium models. We might have to move 4.0 eventually to this tier, but for now, whatever. The other models are so cheap. Hell, even O3. If we look at the O3 price, there's a reason that we released O3 for free when it came out. It's so much cheaper than Claude. It's a third the price of Claude, which is insane. That's cheap enough that we could temporarily offer for free and not feel too bad. And now with crazy stuff going on, like the new Google models that are cheaper than 4.0 Mini, it's really hard to justify Claude. And I'm not saying it's not a great model. I'm not saying it isn't the best at coding general tasks and UI stuff. And I'm not even saying it's not what I use in Cursor. Like when I Command I here, Claude is still what is selected. And I have played with other models, but I keep going back to Claude because it's the right balance of speed and understanding and context size. It's a good model. It is not good enough for it to be this expensive, and it is not good enough in a chat context to continue being the thing everyone reaches for. Especially now that we have reasoning models as cheap as we do with R1 and O3 Mini, I'm just really falling out of love with Claude. And I know for most people, they'll never feel this. Most people will never have these problems. But now that I'm on the other side and I'm seeing these bills, it's rough. And we did everything we could to make it better for the people who were already subbed. First off, we allow you to buy more Claude credits, $8 for 100 messages. This might sound like we're making a crazy profit on it. We're not. We're absolutely not. It costs us on average about 6 cents per message. So if you actually use all 100 of these credits, which you probably eventually will, they stay on your account indefinitely. They don't reset at the end of the month. This is credits you buy, and your monthly credits get consumed first. So this costs us probably $6. It's possible it costs us even more depending on how long those responses are. So it's not like we put this so we can charge you a ton of money and make a killing off of your Claude usage. This is so if you really want to keep using Claude, you can, possibly even at cost to us, but no longer at the point where it will bankrupt us. And just to show how much we care, we're giving everyone who was subbed when we made this change 250 Claude credits for free. So if you were already subbed before the date that this went in, you get 250 extra Claude credits, which is estimated to cost us from the math that we did. Like that amount of credit is like 50 grand that we just gave out effectively, which is insane. We did not want to make these changes. I did not want to have to do any of this, but it sets us up to do so much more and to not change the price. The vast majority of our users are doing less than $8 of inference on T3 chat. Raising the price to $20 would change it from 2% of our users cost us money to 1.5% of our users cost us money. That makes no sense for the other 98%. We made these changes for a reason, and the reason is so that we could give you guys the best possible experience at a reasonable price. In the future, there might be a more expensive plan that we offer for access to certain models that are more expensive, but we don't want to do that yet, if ever. And we will always, to the best of our ability, maintain an $8 plan because we know how much y'all love it. And there's no reason we shouldn't be able to do it, especially as new models are coming out that are cheaper and cheaper. The future might look a little different in terms of the models we offer. We might move the cheap ones, like going back to my list here. Everything under $1 will probably move over to a cheaper tier, and we'll offer a ton of that. So things like 4.0 Mini, V3, R1, all that we can offer pretty much indefinitely for a cheap price. The new Gemini models are also hilariously cheap, so those will be in that too. If 4.0 and 0.3 Mini start to cost us more meaningful amounts of money, those might have to be moved behind a different tier as well. Or the most likely thing, we might move to a credit system where you get a certain amount of credits per month, and each of these models costs a different amount of credits. Maybe 4.0 costs 2 credits, 4.0 Mini costs a fifth of a credit, V3 costs whatever, like 4.0 does probably. You get the idea. But our goal is to give you guys the best possible value for what you pay for. We want to make sure our margins reflect the value that you get. And a bunch of people did the math. Turns out that $8 for an extra 100 messages combined with the 100 you get for your sub is probably pretty close to the amount of messages you can get using the official Claude sub for $20. So for $16, you would get 200 messages with Claude, as well as 1,500 with everything else. And you'd be saving $4 over a Claude sub. I think we're in a good spot here. It's not great. Our margins aren't incredible for those power users that are actually getting close to those limits. But we're in a good enough spot now that I'm no longer stressed out. I was up until 6 a.m. working on this rate limit change a few nights ago because I wanted to make sure we got it right. And I even got ratioed by Brian Johnson because he was making fun of me for staying up so late coding. But I think we did it. I do have to say some thanks. First and foremost to Mark, my CTO, for doing this grind with us this whole time. It's been nuts that I could not have done this without him. But more importantly, I need to thank all of you guys. I can't put into words how stressful this change was. It felt like I was taking something back in a way, and I hate doing that. I want to just give you guys the stuff because you are so supportive of me and my team and everything that we do. I was blown away when I saw the response. I was just sitting there refreshing, scrolling through Twitter, waiting for the negative comments to come in, and they didn't. And I still can't believe that. The fact that you guys see what we're doing, understand that we're not hiding some crazy thing behind the scenes or trying to steal a bunch of money from y'all. I just wanted a better chat app. And it seems like that's resonating with you guys. It seems like our transparency, combined with just how awesome you guys are, means that it's okay. And I never would have guessed, as I was hitting post, that the response to this would be support. I was expecting the response to be outright frustration, people saying that we rug pulled, calling us scammers and liars and all of that. But knowing that the transparency works and knowing that you guys trust us, it means that we're going to be this transparent going forward. It means I'm not going to hide our dashboard in Claude. It means I'm not going to hide our pricing and our costs. It means I'm not going to hide how many messages we're getting, how many subs we're getting. I have no reason to hide those things. Our competition might benefit, but our competition kind of sucks. That's why T3 Chat's doing well. That's why Mark and I could spend 2 weeks hacking on this project and make something that is growing faster than almost any other AI product today. I'm so thankful that we're in a position that we can do stuff like this, that we can be fully transparent, and that y'all get it. So Thank you. Sincerely. This has been awesome. I never could have predicted any of the steps throughout. I never would have guessed that we would have so many paid subs. I never would have guessed we would have had such crazy usage. I never would have guessed Claude would have cost us so much. I never would have guessed I could make these changes and y'all would get it. So stop asking me for a roadmap, because this shows how little we can actually predict how things work in the space. The best thing we can do as the creators of T3 Chat isn't make this crazy perfect roadmap that tells you exactly what's going to change when. The best thing we could do is be responsive when things change, when your needs change, when new models come out, and all of these other things happen. It's our goal to be the best place to use every model, which is why we just shipped Gemini 2.0 Flashlight, as well as the new Gemini 2.0 standard Flash models, within hours of them coming out. We were the first company to have the new DeepSeek R1 on Grok deployed out, one of the first to have the official R1 deployed out too. I think we were the actual first to have O3 Mini that wasn't the official O3 site. We're working hard. We want to be the best place to play with these new AI models. We want to be the best place to have your knowledge base and have these AI chats. We want to be the best experience you've had with AI, and we're going to keep fighting to do that. And if we ever miss the mark, call me out. Just because I am pumped with the positivity for this doesn't mean you can't talk shit when we do screw up. I need y'all to hold us accountable and make sure that we pull this off right. I don't want to be yet another VC rug pull startup AI bullshit thing. I want to provide you guys the best possible experience with a lot of transparency throughout. So thank you all again. I seriously appreciate you guys immensely. This has been a crazy journey so far, and I'm so excited to see where it takes us next. Until next time, keep chatting.